At exactly 0514 hours, the Combat Information Center screen comes alive. Not one contact. Five surface tracks moving fast northward through the Strait of Hormuz. Their signatures are small. Their speed is not. They skim the water nearly invisible to the naked eye. But the system sees them instantly. Steady heading, distance dropping, irregular formation, tightening up. An operator leans toward the console, eyes fixed. 5 fast surface contacts, closing hard. Above, on the flight deck, the morning had started like any other. Smell of aviation fuel in the air. The sea calm enough to seem harmless. A line of gray steel where the horizon should be. Then the tone sounds, no panits, no chaos. Just that sharp, unmistakable pulse telling every sailor aboard that something has changed. What is about to happen in these waters is not an incident. It is a test of wills between two completely different military doctrines. And on one side of that test sits a $13 billion US aircraft carrier with no intention of moving 1 meter. But on the other side, 5 vessels are coming full speed and answering no frequency, welcome. This is what happened in the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz measures barely 33 kilometers at its narrowest point. Through it flows 20% of the world's oil. For Iran, that corridor is not just geography, it is its most powerful card on the geopolitical board. The naval doctrine of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, has spent decades perfecting one idea: if you can't match the firepower of the US Navy, don't try. Instead, saturate the space. Launch fast boats in swarm formation from multiple simultaneous angles, force decisions in seconds, and turn the narrow corridor into a trap where the enemy's size becomes its weakness. It is asymmetric warfare in its purest form, using the geometry of the place to offset technological inferiority. The IRGCN boats, the Revolutionary Guard's naval unit, can reach 70 kilometers per hour and operate in waters where a destroyer cannot maneuver freely. Armed with short-range C-704 missiles and heavy 12.7 millimeters machine guns, they don't need to destroy a carrier. They just need to force it to react. That morning, 5 of those boats emerged from the darkness, convinced the strategic calculus was on their side. The strait was their turf, surprise was their weapon, and the world's camera, their real target. The board was set, but someone forgot to read the other side's rules. At 0514 hours, the CIC radar paints 5 tracks with surgical clarity. Speed between 55 and 70 kilometers per hour. Approach angle directly toward the carrier's starboard flank. No drift, no confusion, intent. The watch officer doesn't need to repeat it. Coordinated swarm profile. Warnings go out immediately on open maritime frequencies. Flat voice professional, no emotion, unidentified vessels. This is a United States Navy warship operating in international waters. You are approaching a US naval formation at unsafe speed and course. Alter course immediately. Silence. No static. No cut signal. Deliberate silence. And in the Strait of Hormuz, the silence of a fast-approaching military vessel is not neutral, it is a decision. At 0516, the battle group's electronic warfare teams detect low-intensity emissions coming from the Iranian boats. It is not fire control radar. It is something subtler, short active sweeps mixed with passive tracking. They are painting the formation, measuring, spacing, reading the group's geometry as they advance. They are hunting and studying at the same time. The destroyer on the outer ring of the group responds without a single dramatic order. It adjusts its position by a few degrees enough to place itself between the boats and the carrier's exposed flank. It is not a gesture. It is pure tactical geometry, like a chess player moving a rook without saying a word. At 0518, the lead vessel accelerates and separates slightly from the group. It becomes the tip of the spear. A third warning is transmitted, then a fourth. Nothing. In the CIC, an operator freezes the long-range camera feed and zooms in. Narrow hull. High bow. A crewman visible at the front near a weapon mount. This is not a lost fisherman. This is someone who knows exactly what he is doing. The US Navy does too. Safety covers on weapon systems quietly come off across the formation. The CIWS close-in weapon system, basically an R2-D2 with a 20mm Gatling gun, capable of firing 4.500 rounds per minute, rotates a few degrees and stops. Enough to be seen, not enough to escalate. That is the language of naval power in tight spaces. Precision, posture, control. If you were the battle group commander right now, would you A, fire a warning shot into the water to stop the boats, or B, keep applying tactical pressure without using weapons? Tell us in the comments. At 0520 hours, the helicopter takes off. The MH-60 Seahawk lifts off the deck in a blast of salt, air, and rotor noise, its nose tilting forward almost before its wheels leave the non-skid. Below, the carrier holds course. No sharp turns, no dramatic acceleration, just steel moving exactly where it had planned to move before the 5 Iranian boats appeared. That steadiness is the most powerful message of the morning. The Seahawk drops low over the water and advances toward the destroyer on the outer ring. From the cockpit, the view is immediate and brutal. 5 narrow hulls, high bows, white wakes slicing the sea like blades on glass. What looked tense from the carrier looks worse from above. They are not dispersing. They are converging. Visual contact. 5 fast boats. Formation intact. Still closing. The pilot transmits without changing the tone of his voice. That alone says everything about these men's training. Meanwhile, the destroyer executes its most decisive move of the morning. It increases speed and drags a curtain of turbulence across the boat's approach lane. It is not a collision course, not remotely. It is something more calculated, a tactical shaping maneuver designed to push small, fast craft into broken water just when they most need clean control. It is like putting ice on the floor in front of someone running. You don't hit him, you just take away his footing. At 0521, the lead boat hits the outer edge of the destroyer's wake. The bow lifts the hull, jump spray explodes in white sheets on both sides. For a second, it looks almost airborne. Then it falls back to the water and keeps advancing. But behind it, the problem is already multiplying. One of the flank boats tries to find a clean lane on starboard, looking for the blind angle of the screen. The Seahawk sees it before it completes the move. The pilot banks hard descends and plants himself in that space with surgical precision. The rotor washclaws the surface. The MX-20 camera with resolution sharp enough to read license plates from 3 kilometers locks onto the hull below. Every move, every visible crewman, every mounted weapon, all recorded, all geotagged, all in real time. No free angle, no blindside, no room. In the CIC, updates come in fast. Starboard element reducing speed. Rear pair separating further. The swarm is no longer a swarm. They are 5 individual boats, each dealing with a different piece of the same problem. And that problem has a name: escalation dominance. Do you think Iran expected this response or miscalculated the US? Navy's reaction, write your opinion below. At 0522 hours, the first crack appears in the Iranian charge. Not in the metal, in the rhythm. From above, the Seahawk crew sees it before anyone says it out loud. The lead boat is still committed, still hammering forward through the turbulence, but the 4 behind it no longer move as a single blade. Their spacing has opened, their timing is broken, one has gone too far left, another has lost half a beat. The rear pair is fighting the water instead of reading the geometry. That is what pressure does. Not explosions, not gunfire, pressure. The destroyer executes one final adjustment. It pushes a few more knots and drags an even heavier wall of turbulence across the approach lane. The water in front of the boats is no longer clean surface. It is a calculated interference field built with the wake of a warship that outweighs them by orders of magnitude. Small craft live on speed and agility. Take their clean water and speed becomes instability. Agility becomes improvisation. At 0523, the lead boat hits the densest turbulence and its bow veers, just a few degrees. But in a high-speed approach inside a narrow corridor, a few degrees is everything. The pilot corrects, and that correction costs him speed. Behind him, another boat tries to hold formation and is pushed laterally enough to lose its clean line. In the CIC, formation integrity degrading. Starboard flanker reducing speed. The carrier has not altered its heading by 1 degree. That is the most important thing about everything that has happened this morning. A U.S. aircraft carrier, one of the most valuable military targets on the planet, is crossing the Strait of Hormuz, while 5 Iranian boats try to force a reaction. And the carrier doesn't blink, it doesn't turn, it doesn't cede space, it doesn't accelerate in panic or brake in confusion. It lets its escorts, its helicopter, its sensors, and its discipline do exactly what they were built to do. The hunters have just become the prey, and they don't realize it yet. At 0524 hours, the charge breaks. Not all at once, not dramatically, just enough to tell every operator in the U.S. formation the same thing at the same time. Iran is backing down. From the Seahawk, the shift is unmistakable. The lead boat, the one that had pushed hardest and longest through the destroyer's wake, no longer holds a clean intercept line. Its bow still points at the outer screen, but its speed has dropped and its trajectory is starting to slide outward by degrees. Off its port side, another boat turns wider. No longer pressing, no longer trying to hold the swarm geometry. The rear pair is opening distance. What had been a coordinated charge has become 5 individual decisions, and none of them carry the attack forward. In the CIC updates come in cold, precise sequence. Lead contact reducing speed, outer elements opening course, CPA increasing. That last line says it all. The closest point of approach is no longer falling, it is rising. The carrier is no longer being closed on, it is being abandoned. On the bridge, the captain holds the exact same posture he has held since first contact. Upright, still, eyes forward. Because the Strait of Hormuz does not reward premature relief. A boat pulling away can turn back just as fast. A tactical withdrawal can still be a feint, so the formation holds. The carrier keeps advancing. At 0525, the destroyer eases its shaping maneuver. Not because the danger has vanished, but because the geometry no longer demands the same force. The gunners stay at their posts. The Mark 45 stays trained. The CIWS remains in active tracking. No one drops his guard early. At 0527, the 5 Iranian boats are out of immediate danger range. Still visible, still tracked, but no longer dictating anything. Iran had come to the Strait of Hormuz expecting to create a headline, a moment of pressure, an image of defiance in front of the world's greatest naval power. What they found instead was a formation that did not panic, did not overreact, and did not yield 1 inch of water. It did not choose to yield. They showed their cards, and the U.S. Navy showed them a royal flush. 5 Iranian boats charged a U.S. aircraft carrier in Hormuz. They thought they were forcing a reaction. What they got was something colder than firepower. They got control. No missile fired, no sailor wounded, no hull sunk. And yet what happened in the Strait of Hormuz that morning was a complete tactical defeat for the IRGCN. Not because they lost mettle, because they lost the narrative. They went out to prove they could intimidate a U.S. battle group inside their own strategic corridor. They came back having proven exactly the opposite. The cost to the U.S. helicopter fuel and hours of controlled tension. The cost to Iran, the credibility of its swarm doctrine in front of a formation that knows it better than its own designers. The strategic lesson is one: escalation dominance is not always measured in warheads. Sometimes it is measured in who controls the water, the air, and the silence at the same time. The carrier never changed course. That was not carelessness. That was the message. Do you think the IRGCN swarm doctrine still poses a real threat to the U.S. Navy? Or did this morning in Hormuz prove it is already obsolete? Drop it in the comments. If you found this analysis valuable, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the next confrontation in these waters is already being prepared. The sensors are active, the board is set. See you on the next deck.